Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew, also known as GingerHacker, and I'm so excited to have on my channel today a fellow soldier and a fellow cyber threat intelligence analyst or senior threat intelligence advisor with Feedly, Andy Castro. And Andy, I'm going to pass it to you for a quick introduction.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Very excited to be here. Really appreciate you reaching out and having me on today. I'm a Intel analyst through and through. Got my degree from James Madison University in intelligence analysis. So go Dukes. And from there, I did CTI for a few years, jumped out, did some GRC work, vulnerability management, did automation throughout the whole time, and then ended up here at Feedly. So absolutely love it. I've been here at Feedly for a little over a year and some change. And like you mentioned, also a soldier. So still in the Army Reserves, doing cyber fusion intel work.
Awesome. And we're going to dive into that a little bit because I myself was also in the fusion cell for a bit and did cyber intelligence before going warrant officer. So it's a great path for some that I think we can also dive into for those thinking about breaking into cyber that want to serve and get into the military.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get there, we have our first question we ask everybody, and that's our how do we get to where we are? So back in school, we have our career days, we have our teachers asking us, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we give the answer of lawyers, doctors, basketball players, veterinarians, scuba divers. But obviously, we got into cybersecurity. So, Andy, what's your kind of story of how you broke into cyber?
Honestly, it was an influential professor. My whole goal in life was just to commission, go active duty, super hua, right? Just bleeding for Uncle Sam there. But I had a really influential professor. I was his TA for a while. So Dr. Tawab, if you do end up seeing this, thank you so much for setting me on this path because he saw something and he was like, "You've got something here. You're a decent programmer. Your degree's in intelligence. I think you should at least try an internship." And so between my junior and senior year, tried out for an internship, got one, a major defense contractor, had a job offer before I even finished. So it's just been a
Fantastic.
series of there. But having been prior enlisted, I think was a major benefit because I met other prior enlisted and they definitely vouched for me and were like, hey, let's help another vet brother out. So
And it's funny because the military is how I got into cyber as well, kind of from my story with good mentors. And the mentorship is huge. And I feel like and the one reason why I have this series of breaking into cyber is for those that are struggling to find mentors that may be trying to find the right path for them. If someone comes and watches this video and says, wow, that really connects with me and how Andy broke in, I'm going to go that route. It's just kind of nice to have that kind of that connect with the community. So yeah, shout out to your professor because yeah, having strong professors and people that can kind of help direct you on where you want to go,
yep.
and folks like our military brothers and sisters that can kind of boost us up and like, hey, we'll write a letter of recommendation for you. We can help you prep for OCS or the academy or whatever you need to get into is huge in this community. And gatekeeping was very much a thing I think about maybe 8-10 years ago. And it's nice that I think a lot of those walls are breaking down to provide all the resources on how you can really break into this field.
For sure. There's definitely a lot of like resources now, though. I think it's getting overwhelming. And so I think the problem now that I'm seeing is actually people being like, where do I start?
No, and that's exactly, and that's honestly a great throw in for the nonprofit we're doing because with the GingerHacker initiative, like we're trying to be the shepherds to help folks break in. There's so many communities, there's so many cohorts, there's so many discords, there's anti-siphon training, there's just hacking, there's simply cyber, which are great communities that are all doing the same thing. They're helping folks with low effective training break into cybersecurity. But just like you said, it's like you open the first door and then you're hit with 100 different paths of, okay, where do you want to go?
Yep.
And that's one thing where it's like the mentorship training and having a strong community to kind of ask those questions can help narrow down like, well, there's 100 roads. Well, hey, we'll narrow it down to 5 for you on the paths we think you should go down with your qualities, what you're kind of interested in and what you want to actually break into. So no, that's perfect, man. Well, the second question we always like to ask folks is the chicken before the egg question, right? So those trying to get jobs, they need experience to get experience, but they need a job to get the said experience.
Sure.
But the question I always like to ask is, so the 3 things I think are the most pivotal things you need to break into cyber is a mix between education, experience, and certification. Now, with those 3, where do you rank the 3 and why?
So I've heard really mixed conflicting things in my time, right, coming up, if you will, into the industry. And what I think for me, my personal experience is what I've found has been experience then education, then certification.
Yep.
Just because I've heard of people having, right, being those warriors with all of the different letters or the different certs, and then like nothing really stuck. They just really good test takers, and supposedly like they didn't interview well or they just didn't fit. And it's just like, I think so. Maybe if I would even throw in like a fourth item to your list of three, it's like connections and the relationships that you've built actually is probably one of the even bigger pieces to me.
Definitely. And I I think I have it the same order. So it's experience. We said experience, education,
Education and
certification,
certs.
right? Yeah. Because someone gave me the example once of like certifications are just like they're it's paper to stop a wobbly table. And I explained this to the girls on Stats, Jordan and Tiffany, because it's just like you and I both know, like you don't have to have a Splunk certification to be good at Splunk. You don't have to have a Python certification to be good at scripting or Python.
Right.
You can just be good at the skill. So when you look at certifications, yes, some organizations like for 8140 compliance, like you have to have like a security plus or higher.
Right.
But all because you don't hold the certification doesn't mean you're not good at the skill. And so one of my mentors was like, yeah, man, like think of like a wobbly table and that's where your desktop is, where you're doing all the work, right? If it's wobbly, what certifications do is they can help like raise one of those legs to stop
That's
the
a good way to
wobble.
put it.
And it's not that the certification is not important. Like it is
Right.
helping. It's preventing the table from wobbling, but you're not going to put that certification against a screen. Like, come on, bypass the sport. What are you doing? Come on. It's the
Yeah.
skills you're learning from the training that you then get to take with you with your career. So
Yep.
kind of an interesting analogy when my mentor told me, but I'm like, wow, that's actually kind of silly, but it works.
I like
So
that one.
so, but I mean, I think you mentioned it too earlier as well. And it's like, and even today, it's that mentorship piece of it where having the right mentors and the right community and the right network is huge to pivot ideas from, kind of
Mhm.
have the same similar mindsets of like everyone trying to break in or having other programmers or certifications that you can ask folks like, hey, is this a valid path? Is this a good training? And that's honestly probably a great way to throw this in with talking with Dakota Snow and the IT Career Accelerator. That's one thing that his community is helping kind of do. It's allowing folks to join this community and having that resource to training with other folks trying to break into that same field or similar fields that you're trying to get into. And with my amazing partnership with Dakota, if you decide to jump into our community here, it's a 20% off code if you use GingerHacker, and you can choose me as your mentor. So there is some paid versions of the IT Career Accelerator, but if you want to just jump in for free, jump in the community and ask some cool questions, you should definitely scan that QR code and give it a shout out and say hi to Dakota and I, and we can help you get that yes letter on those job applications as you try to break into cyber. So, but Andy, I'll say this. So when it comes into communities, are there any Discord communities or kind of like other than the Army, because that's the largest brotherhood we have
For
of
sure.
our fraternity, any communities you kind of follow or stay on top of, like to get information, or especially being a senior threat intel advisor? I'm sure there's like some different kind of groups and reports you also look into on a probably weekly or day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I actually do miss being a part of the ISAC community when I was in a couple of those. Unfortunately, right, like I'm not in one right now as a vendor, but those, right, like if you can get into those communities because the threats are relevant, the information is super relevant, and it's just really good reporting in there generally. Um, but outside of that, I do stay in touch with a lot of like my colleagues. I try and maintain those relationships, right? People I went to OCS with, people I went to university with, and whatnot. So trying to maintain those relationships. So it's maybe not dedicated, organized communities, but it's definitely like those interpersonal relationships.
No, most definitely. I think, and I can't emphasize this enough, like having a community is huge. And it's like finding a Discord channel, finding local meetups. I know
Yeah.
we have our local DEF CON DC 4.0 meetup that we meet up every second Tuesday of the month. And having those kind of folks just to kind of, it's a whole bunch of nerds that get to hang out and like talk cyber. And like, it's the best way to describe it. And it's just, I
Yeah.
don't know why, but it's so much fun. And it's kind of it's cool to hear kind of like, hey, what'd you work on this week? Or, hey, any cool trainings or certifications you come around the pipeline, any cool YouTube free, like YouTube Academy stuff you guys have been seeing, and having that kind of just back and forth with folks in the same career field or kind of like-mindedness, I think is huge, just kind of helping to level up and break in. So
Hmm.
no, perfect, man. Well, I have another kind of question. So with Feedly and being a senior threat intelligence analyst, kind of what's a day-to-day like, what's the day-to-day life kind of look like when you're in that type of role And can you maybe explain that and kind of like if
Mhm.
someone would be interested in joining that same path, like what's that look like?
So other companies will call them TAMs or technical account managers or customer success managers, things of that nature. The way we do it a little differently is that they've pulled all of us, right? So everyone else on my team comes from industry, right? We're either former SOC analysts, incident responders, whatever. And so they pull us from industry. I actually was a former customer, so then it was very natural for me to come and work for this platform because like I already understood it and knew how to operationalize it, right? And so that's what I get to do every day is I get to talk to large organizations, companies, and help them to operationalize cyber threat intelligence. And of course, right, obviously Feedly being the premise there of it. Like I've helped some really cool companies build out collection plans and to formalize
Nice.
PIRs and to do all that kind of work. So a day in a life really is just up to the customer and how much they want to interact, how much calls I have with them, and then just making sure that I'm reaching out to people. So it's a little different than your typical CTI analyst that's out there looking through reporting, trying to do incident response or chase down the bad guys kind of thing. So it's a little different, but it's great because I think I get a little bit more freedom to explore different like things and curiosities. Where when you're doing that in the operational sense, you get the next fire happens, right? Whatever it's the next
Yep.
log4j, log web, whatever the next big thing is, you then have to put on the table all those things. Whereas here, it's like I get more opportunity to explore and to create and to talk to customers. So it's a really different niche part of the cybersecurity world.
No, and it's still cool, and it's funny because it's like I get to talk to folks that do like the PAM aspect of the world of like helping find the right tool for the right organization.
Mhm.
And some folks like, oh man, like I don't want to get into sales, I want to do procurement. I'm like, it's still an important part though of cyber because if you're part of a team that's using tools, well, how did you first get the tools? And it's like, it's probably either by one running into somebody at a local venue or like a vendor meetup or some cool sponsored event. You see the said cool tool, and then you get to introduce that to your company and your organization
Mhm.
and how it can kind of help level up your reporting, your threat intelligence, those PIRs or those specific asks that your command or your leadership's looking for. And at the end of the day, like any good tool, it's trying to help the make the analyst's job easier. So
Yep.
tool sprawl is a very real thing that I'm sure you're familiar with on the term of where a company
Yep.
has probably several different tools, possibly all doing the same or maybe overlapping things. So when you find a cool tool or organization trying to take off the plate, like, hey, this one thing can do these four things. To me, that's a huge takeaway and a huge thing. Like, oh yeah, well, that's going to work for our organization. I want it. So let's
Yep.
bring it on, see what it can do, and then hopefully make our worker bees not as tired at the end of their days. So
Yeah, I mean, and that's definitely my goal is like to try and like automate everything, trying to make it easier for people. And I always complained about tools, right? Like I was that analyst that was like, this tool sucks. Like I need to, so then like I was like, all right, I'm gonna stop complaining. I'm gonna like try and like be a part of it, right? And like help to guide it. And I think that's what I really love about this company is they've been very open and really receptive to a lot of feedback and looking to people that are industry, right? Like people who've been in industry and have the knowledge, the domain knowledge to help influence the product. So that's been really, really cool.
no, awesome, man. Well, I know we talked earlier too on so when folks are looking into, and we can obviously talk about like the IR incident response or SOC team days, but from our experience of you and I both being like in a fusion cell and like doing the cyber threat intelligence piece of it, like I know when folks tell me they want to become like threat intel analysts, I'm like, well, hey, understand MITRE, understand the cyber kill chain, know how to build out a storyline that kind of paints that entire picture of how an event
Yep.
happened. But when it comes like into like when they say, well, what certification should I get? Um, I recommend some of the baselines like, well, hey, get your Sec Plus, maybe get your CYSA,
Mhm.
because I think the blue team aspect of things are important. But I'd also understand, and I also sometimes pivot to like the red team side because what's happening is that attack is happening as an attacker, and you as a defender is building out that story pipeline. I know EC Council has like a cyber threat intel course, but are there any courses or trainings or maybe resources that you would ever recommend somebody to read into and understand trying to get into like the cyber threat intel world?
I actually point back to the fundamentals and look at the tradecraft primer, right? Like think like a true intel analyst, right? Because like there's I think a problem with like cyber threat intel. Everyone thinks it's just IOCs and it's just like this like and that's just data, right? Without having the actual human intelligence like analysis done behind it, it's really not intelligence, right? If you're not giving the so what, it's not intel. It's
Yep.
just data. And so like I really point back to like learning the fundamentals. What is intelligence? What makes it good intelligence? How to like do the link analysis, to do the deeper, more critical thinking. So I actually point back to things like fundamentals of structured analytics and trait
Yep.
primer.
Yeah, doing deep analysis and like it's jokingly like when I was back in Kuwait working on the fusion cell, it's not that like just like you said, it's not the information of that IOC that makes something like tactical or
Intelligence,
something that can be intelligence, right? It's
right?
the analyst using their mindset, pulling and making the story of like, why is this important?
Mm-hmm.
What's the like second and third order effects on it? Well, hey, what this could lead to could be this, or hey, this could be initial like reconnaissance, or maybe this
Yeah.
is them trying to now do a, like lateral movement and pivot into a deeper system. So no, that's nail on the head because fundamentals itself is whenever someone tries to break in or if they're already in the industry and they're like, hey, I'm looking for that next step up. My first question I ask them, like, well, hey, how is your base? What's your baseline? Like, do you feel like you'd be ready to jump into like writing SQL injections or going into a deeper pen test, doing privilege escalation? Or do we need to take that step back and
Mm-hmm.
really build that strong foundation, hit some of the lower level aspects of understanding like the OSI model, how packets travel,
Exactly.
what is a SIM, what is a SOAR, how do you do a good root cause analysis, how to write a good report, 5 Ws, who, what, when, why,
Mm-hmm.
where. And from there, sometimes I get mixed feelings. Sometimes folks they take a good look at themselves, like, you know what, I probably could have a little bit stronger of a baseline before moving up that ladder. But as many of us, we want to be successful. We want that next responsibility to move up in our careers. But sometimes it can be a difficult path and difficult choice to understand. Like, am I moving too fast? And burnout, and I think,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, not burnout, but imposter syndrome is such a real thing in this industry.
For sure.
And I know we shared the story of like how I'm very blessed and lucky that I get to do some of the stuff with Try Hack Me this year with their Advent of Cyber. But some of the rooms I was assigned, I was comfortable, but just nervous because the fear too is like even doing these videos and stuff like, oh man, am I saying the right stuff? Is my context of what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
putting out the right message? Or am I just a silly redhead guy talking about why I like cybersecurity every single video I do? And it's different. It's hard and it's not hard to look out and see like what content wants to be made or what needs to be created because I'm trying to think back on when I was breaking into the industry on these type of conversations and talks that are so deep and just personal. And it's nice to kind of have these like just kind of one-off conversations with folks in the industry, whether they're 5 years in their career, 20 years in the career, or even just 6 months in their career on how they did it, how they were successful, how they broke through the HR algorithm and made it to a real interview, not via through AI. And it's just interesting, cool to kind of see that full path on how everyone has their own different story on how they broke into this field. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so crazy because I've heard of people that worked in like, I don't know, they worked with like biological stuff. They were looking at like diseases and stuff. And then now they're like red teamers or like they come from such very, very different backgrounds. Art history majors who became like
Yep.
detectives on like stolen art, got into CTI because they're tracking some criminals. Like I've heard some crazy entries into cyber. So
Yeah, Tyler.
yeah.
Shout out to Tyler Ramsby, but Tyler used to be a preacher. He was a
Okay.
pastor for like I think like a preaching pastor for 3 years, but like studied went to school for it. That did it for 10 years, and then he broke into pen testing. He now has his own pen testing company and is working with Simply Cyber. But it's wild, right? Because it's like it goes to show that anyone can break into cyber, whether
Yeah.
you're a teacher, whether you're a pastor, whether you're an electrician, a plumber, a brand new college student trying to break into the industry. And it's just what's your origin story and how do you do it?
Hmm.
So I know I've been leveraging folks to, and I was just talking to I went to a CISO dinner last night and I was explaining that to the hiring process of it. I'm like, look, like when I talk to folks trying to break in, I tell people to create a YouTube channel. I'm like, hey, go make a YouTube channel. Just how when like you want to go find like a website designer and you ask somebody like, hey, can you show me some of your work? They'll show you maybe 5 or several websites they designed. Well, for making a YouTube channel, if you're trying to get in, become a SOC analyst, there's so many different platforms now. There's Level Effect, Anti-Siphon Training, Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, just to name a few. Go
Yeah.
record yourself doing some of those rooms and challenges. Walk through your process, walk through your report writing, create a GitHub, have your own write ups and distros, And that way, when like a manager says like, "Hey, well, how long have you been doing Splunk?" Well, I've been doing it for 3 years, not on like an industrial site, but on my own free time. And I actually have a
Hmm.
whole series of like going through these investigations and trainings. And so ideally, you're showing them you can do the work, and like it shows them your walkthrough, your process, your mindset. And I think it might be. I think this could be a new way on a sense of like it, whether that's like maybe before the interview you can say, hey, here's my resume, hey, here's also my YouTube channel that has a bunch of playlists on me using sims, soars, malware analysis.
Yep,
Name the type of thing you're into, and then that's what you can do a video series on to show off those skills.
for sure. Yeah, I do get this a lot of like, how do I get the experience without having the employment, right? And like to your point, like you can have this experience personally. You can set up your own Splunk server. Like you can set it all up on your own. You can set up an Elastic server. You can spin up Docker instances. Like you can do
Yep.
all of this stuff on your own personal computer, monitor your own home network, and like and then like you said, right? Maybe they're not as personable or like I don't know, not as camera shy, if you will. Like use LinkedIn, right? Like you can post
Yeah.
about the things, the learnings, the challenges, the struggles that you've had while going through some of this process. So like um, I'm starting to realize that with doing it through Feedly, like I've been pushing blog posts about some of the prompt engineering that I'm doing, right? Because I'm trying to figure out how to do automated reporting and templates, right? To stop making CTI analysts do the copy paste, right? Because that's what makes a good Intel analyst, as they say, and and as the joke goes. Um, so like I'm trying to have them reduce that, and so like that's why I'm guiding people to these prompts, or like I've been doing Patch Tuesday analysis videos. So like 100%, like I'm starting to get to that, like building the brand and trying to show the knowledge outside of just here's the paper.
There's a funny meme that my buddy showed me when I was in Kuwait. Is like a 35 Fox all source analyst,
Hmm.
whereas like you see the second analyst hands them like a product, like, hey, this is my work. And then the
I
35
made
Fox
this.
grabs it, like, this is my work. This is his work. He made this. Then there's like another thing where it's like, I made this.
I
And then it's
made
like,
this.
this is my work. And it's
Yep.
it's the it's the joke that all source analysts, like, ideally, like, we're just going off other reports and repositories like to refine and build out our own analysis. But yeah, it's one of the
Yep.
funniest memes ever when I think of like 35 work. I don't know why it just came to my mind, like squirrel moment real fast. But
Yep.
you're spot on, dude. I mean, automation also is here. So it's like when it comes into scripting and knowing AI and like building out those specific patches and things to like understand how and what that's going to be doing to affect your systems is huge. And it's silly because it's just like you and I both know it's like sometimes you'll find like a nugget of truth or a golden nugget of information. And it's just like, but it has like so little to no like backing behind it. But it's like it's a factual piece of evidence that's found. And sometimes that's the thing where it's like, just like when you find a really good food restaurant that's like a mom and pop shop. It's
Yep.
it's a small business that doesn't probably have a lot of marketing aspect where it's like if you know like all your chains like McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Burger King, Panda, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of it." But then it's like, "Oh man, have you been to like the burger spot?" Like, well, "What's the burger spot?" Like, "Oh man, we have to go there." It's kind of
Yep.
like cyber. Like when you find those golden nuggets of good information that you've vetted, that other folks have vetted, then it's like the mission of like, I need to get this out here, doing blogs, doing videos, doing
Hmm.
newsletters. And I think that's really important and huge applaud, by the way, for doing that because that's how good information gets shed or shared. So I think that's fantastic, man.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, man. But follow up question, I guess, comes down to like finding a mentor and like mentorship. So I know you had a great mentor from your college time of who kind of helped you, who helped maybe steer you a little bit toward this direction. What's your advice for those trying to find community, trying to find a mentor? I know I always tell folks, yeah, definitely leverage LinkedIn, leverage social medias, jump into Discord communities. But is there anything specifically that you'd also recommend as well?
Um, just talk to people that you work with. Like, don't be afraid to go levels up above you. I know that there's chain of command or whatever sometimes, but like, don't be afraid to talk and like ask questions and ask them to be your mentor, right? Like, I think that's where a lot of people may also get stuck is like they don't want to ask, and they think that there's just some portal out there they can pick and choose them. We're getting there, right? Like, those portals are starting to become more prevalent, but um, don't be afraid to ask. I think is really the key there. Like I've just asked people bluntly, "Hey, will you be willing to mentor me for whatever the purpose is?" And so it's been great to I've had some majors that I worked with and some lieutenant colonels that I've worked with, and they've been willing. So
Now, I was told back in my police days, if you don't ask, you don't get. So it's like
right.
ASK, GET. And yeah, I mean, the worst someone's going to tell you is no. So I always tell that, like, yeah, like, just ask. Someone's either they're just going to ghost you, they're going to say, hey, unfortunately, I can't right now, but they can always point to a different resource, a different mentor that's like, hey, but I know so and so. Hey, I know Andy who works at Feedly, who's in threat intel stuff. He might be a great resource to give you to talk to. And then that's how that networking aspect also works.
Hmm.
So, Andy, this has been a blast. I have two more questions for you, which are super
Yeah,
fun, low
man.
key, but it's a huge thank you for coming on the channel as always. I'm going to have an amazing link sent to you to pick out some cool GingerHacker swag as a
Sweet.
thank you for letting me take some time out of your day. But last two questions I have for you is, so when you're not doing cybersecurity, when you're not working, when you're not doing army, what do you like to do for fun? What do you do to unplug, relax, kind of recharge and reset?
Yeah, so I'm actually in Costa Rica, and I have a coffee farm. So we're doing
Nice.
the farming life, and I've seen some memes on LinkedIn recently. It's like the more I work in tech, the further I want to get away from it when I'm done. So it resonates really strongly here. So yeah, I've been building chicken pens and farming and doing all that kind of stuff and planting stuff. So I'm going back and trying to get off the grid. No tin hat
Dude,
here.
that is so cool, dude. I need to get a bag of coffee from you, dude. That's gonna be my ask. That is so
Yeah,
sick. That's cool,
yeah,
dude.
at some point I'll have some hand roasted and I'll be able to bring them back up. So I'll let you know. I have to. There's so many people that are always asking. But yeah, so that's my side hobby, other than a bunch of other random stuff. But that's my current thing.
Man, dude, that is so cool. I did not know that, man. That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, first off, for everyone still watching, if you haven't yet, what are you doing? Like, subscribe. These are amazing videos we do pretty much almost every month. And if you're missing out on the notifications, hit that bell so you can catch out the next video. But Andy, this has been a blast, man, and so cool to kind of have you come on. I know we've been talking for a bit, and I know
Hmm.
we've met probably at a few different battalion events when we've gotten
Probably.
like when the whole org gets together. But it's obviously everyone's wearing that. It's like zebras in a herd. We all look the
Hmm.
same. But last question we have is the last question we ask everybody on the channel. What's the last piece of advice you give someone trying to break into cyber?
Leverage your connections again. Just like talk to people. Like it's not always about what you know, right? Like like people have to like you too. You have to work with them, right? So it's sometimes also who you know, and so leveraging your connections, maintaining those relationships, like build and maintain relationships.
No, fantastic. And everybody, that's going to be it today. But if you aren't, we have a Discord. We have a great community of folks also all leveraging trying to break into cyber. So definitely check out the link below. And as always, we're going to catch you on the next episode of Breaking into Cyber.